Hello, good afternoon. It's 4 p.m. We are already here. I see many of you are also already here. As usual, we will wait a few minutes before we really get started. It's still time to brew a tea or a coffee if you don't have to clean the machine first or something. So we will start shortly. So Filippo, you are here from Hanoi. Chuyên, you are here from Long An today. I sit in Ho Chi Minh. At least we sit all in the same time zone.
Yes, I'm currently in Hanoi. Yes.
Cool. Yeah, we also have an office in Da Nang, so that's very suitable with the topic today. But
yeah, we plan actually to expand and move to a bigger office by the end of the month. So next week I will be in Da Nang.
Oh, really?
Oh, lovely.
Yes. Yes, yes. This is inside news.
Where is it? So please invite, visit us, huh? The
absolutely, absolutely.
Would there be another office opening needed?
I will do the stuff there.
Also, maybe like there are some potential client they could follow you for the next week trip to Da Nang.
Absolutely.
So it's perfect. Absolutely. After we have a sharing webinar.
So Julia, maybe you can start introducing the topic to the audience that is already increasing the numbers, and then we can just start with our presentations, I think.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, cool. Then, welcome to the attendees. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. So now we get started actually with Vietnam's key investment industries and destinations 2022. Part 2. This time it's Vietnam's high-tech industry with the hotspot Da Nang. Last time we started with Hải Phòng and logistics. So my name is GHIωρίP and I will be your moderator today. I may especially welcome today Huynh Nguyen, investment consultant of our webinar partner, the Long Hậu Corporation. Long Hậu is a pioneer of industrial park projects with a total area of 500 hectares in Long An, which is very close to Ho Chi Minh City for those who are not yet familiar so much with the area, and Da Nang, the central Vietnamese investment hub that we will talk about today. Long Hậu established itself in 2006, now home to nearly 200 local and FDI manufacturers that choose this park as a sustainable development partner. And in Da Nang, there was a high-tech factory project formed in 2019, which surely Heidi will talk about later. And we have from Dezan Shira, Filippo. I will introduce him a little bit later because we also would like to greet and thank our co-hosts and especially their members that might be also with us today. So thank you, German Business Association, the Italian Chamber of Commerce, and the Nordstrom Vietnam for becoming a co-host today and sharing about our event. So then I would like to introduce a little bit about Dezan Shira and Associates. With the name, we sometimes get questions, what exactly are you doing? This is actually a new way to say the name of our founder, who was named Devonshire and came to Hong Kong in 1992, and no one could say Devonshire. It turned out that Dezan Shira was much easier, and this is what we are now. And we are a pan-Asian multidisciplinary professional service firm, as I just said, founded in Hong Kong in the early 90s. And we are providing basically everything you might need to know and you need to have if you consider to come to Asia, if you want to set up here, and if you then want to be successful in your first years already. This means market entry and business intelligence in the beginning, legal advice and accounting, tax and payroll, HR, and later operation advisory. Most of our firms are from a small medium enterprise background, but we also have some large enterprises, and I say various backgrounds because you really cannot point it down to one sector. It's really, really colorful. We have more than 30 offices throughout China, ASEAN, India, and also in Europe and in the USA to serve our clients from overseas and help them to understand the very complex regulatory environment you sometimes find in the different countries here and assist them with the one-stop service in all aspects. So your host and speaker today is Filippo Bortoletti, our country director in Vietnam, where we have 3 offices, and expert for international business advisory. In this role, he assists foreign investors by advising on both tax and legal aspects and establishing and operating a business in Vietnam, and if needed, also in the ASEAN region. And our guest speaker, Ms. Nguyễn Thị Thanh Huyền, or Heidi, investments consultant for the Long Hậu Corporation. Huyền helps investors to set up factories in Vietnam. And besides, Huyền also finds herself in different volunteer roles, such as a board member of the Logistics and Transportation Sector Committee of the European Chamber of Commerce already since 2019. Is that correct? Okay. And before we really start with the presentation, please have in mind, don't leave immediately when the presentations are over, because we also have a Q&A session for you. For this, you see this beautiful gray thing from GoToWebinar on your screen, where you can use the chat function or the questions function. It would be great if you can put your questions in the questions function, because then we are able to follow up even if there is a question we might not have a perfect answer directly. This way we can also answer you during the webinar if there's anything that is unclear yet. And just in case we don't feel fit to give you an answer right on the spot, we will follow up via email and help you out if there's anything we can help you with. But most questions we probably will be able to solve here. So please use the time during the webinar. Immediately when you feel there is something you want to know, use the questions tool. And in the Q&A session, Filippo and Heidi will help you out. So there will also be email follow-up. So don't worry, you will receive a recording of this webinar to rewatch. If you in between don't have time to stay, you can finish it. But we of course hope that you stay with us to the very end. However, a recording will reach you, so don't worry, you will have everything again. And I think now I'm finally ready and we can start with Filippo's presentation. Thank you.
So thank you, Julia, for introducing the event today and the webinar. I will talk about basically opportunities for foreign investors in the high-tech industry, and specifically then in Da Nang and in the central area. Okay, so if I go to the content, I structure my presentation into 3 main topics. First, an overview of the high-tech industry. Then I highlight what are the opportunities for foreign investors in this specific industry. And then I will talk briefly about the central key economic region and Da Nang, that is the main city inside the region that is representing basically the economy of the center of Vietnam. So first of all, about the high-tech sector, is worth noting that over the last decades, Vietnam has experienced rapid industrialization, modernization, and also international integration. And in this framework, science, technology, and innovation, which are of course represented by the high-tech sector, have a critical role in fostering the growth of Vietnam economy. How can they do that? They can do it by improving the manufacturing capacity and competitiveness in the value chains for the products. They can revolutionize the business models, and they can also attract new sources of investment. Specifically, the industry here in Vietnam is booming thanks to a massive inflow of foreign investment and robust research and development activities that are carried out by both domestic and foreign players here in Vietnam. Specifically, according to the statistics from the World Bank, the local high-tech industry grew at a compound annual growth rate of around 11.5% in the period from 2014 to 2019, with an overall value of the industry in 2019 that was standing at almost 18 billion US dollars. This value comes from more than 11,000 companies that employ around 3.85 million workers in Vietnam. Overall, if we benchmark the high-tech industry with the local economy, okay, it contributes to roughly 6.8% of the country GDP. So if instead we look at the exports, of course, Vietnam is an economy based on exports. So as you can see, first of all, there have been a switch, okay, in the past few years from low-base products to high value-added goods, okay, that require sophisticated production methods and technology. And right now, the main export include smartphones, computer, and broadcasting equipment. As you can see from the graphic in the slide, and if we look at the trend, of course, is skyrocketing, and it increased almost 15 times the value of export from 2010 to 2019. Such growth has been mainly driven by foreign investment and foreign multinational companies. Some are also highlighted, like Nokia, Foxconn, Samsung, LG, that had huge investments in Vietnam with manufacturing facilities, and then brought also other accessory and ancillary investment from their suppliers, and therefore the local value chain developed naturally. So if we consider like the location, okay, of these clusters, local R&D and manufacturing activities in the high tech are generally clustered nearby big cities, therefore Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh City, and Da Nang as well. More specifically, businesses usually locate inside of high-tech parks to enjoy an abundant supply of skilled labor and a well-developed infrastructure. So right now, Vietnam has three main industrial parks. One is located in Hanoi, one in Da Nang, and one in Ho Chi Minh City. And if I consider them like from the north to the south, the first one would be the Hoa Lac. I think my pronunciation is correct, I hope. High-tech park that counts 94 projects with a registered capital of about 4.1 million US dollars, sorry, 100 projects. And then we have Da Nang High-Tech Park that counts 24 projects with a total invested capital of 0.6 billion US dollars. And then we have also the Saigon High-Tech Park that counts the majority of projects, 165, with a total investment capital of 11 billion US dollars. So compared to traditional industrial zones, high-tech parks generally have a lower occupancy rate, okay, as only only investment that qualify as high-tech investment can locate inside, and usually is actually very hard to qualify. There are certain requirements that I will show later in terms of production method, technology used, personnel used, revenue. If I look at the occupancy rate in these three industrial parks, the phase one of Saigon High-Tech Park is almost full already, while Hanoi, the parks in Hanoi and Da Nang have an occupancy rate lower than 50%. Therefore, there is still space available. Instead of focusing on the location, if we look at the major segment of the high-tech industry in Vietnam, that we identified 5. I will just briefly illustrate 3 of them that are the most prominent. The first one is the electronics and semiconductors. So about this sector, at the beginning, in the early 90s, most electronic manufacturers in Vietnam were state-owned and small-sized enterprises that were focused more or mostly on assembling televisions, radio cassette recorders, and other similar products. Then there was a big boom when Vietnam joined WTO in 2007. And right now, Vietnam became a major player in the worldwide supply chain, and the industry counts around 2,500 companies that are mostly foreign enterprises. Foreign enterprises also generate around 96% of the turnover, as local companies are mostly focused on packaging, as well as simple plastics and material and metal parts. In general, this industry can be divided into 3 main macro groups of companies. We have first the global lead firms, which coordinate the global value chain and retain most of the added value and profits generated by this industry. These companies are like Samsung, LG, Canon, Panasonic, a very big player. Then there are the contract manufacturers, such as Foxconn, Compal, Jabil, and these are companies that are focused on manufacturing for a range of lead firms at Samsung, Canon, Panasonic, etc. around the world. And then we have what we call platform leaders, which are companies that are leading in technologies, can be software, can be hardware, or both, that are widely used by other companies in the industry. The most prominent player in Vietnam is Intel, but the segment includes also a wide variety of companies that supply parts and subcomponents to the other groups. Another very important segment that is booming is artificial intelligence and its application. That means Internet of Things, blockchains, data, and as I said, is developing quite rapidly in Vietnam. And in general, Vietnam is gradually affirming its position as one of the main software outsourcing hubs in Asia. So according to statistics, Vietnam currently ranks 21st globally in AI investment. And if we consider the last few years, local companies, local big conglomerates started applying AI in various fields. So on one side, we have large local corporations such as Vietel, FPT, VNPT, CNC, Ring Group, that are investing heavily in building AI sources and implementing new AI projects. On the other hand, we have a good cluster of local innovative startups that also invest in artificial intelligence and carry out many new applications in new business models. And if we consider those startups and we rely on the statistics from the OECD, venture capital investment skyrocketed in Vietnam from 2017 onwards. From 2017, the investment in these high-tech startups was like a few $1,000s. And in 2020, the total amount of investment in those innovative startups were around $17 million US, which is a big leap, and also represent a remarkable interest of the investor in the Vietnamese market. So in this framework, the main subsectors receiving investment were related to media, social platform and marketing, business processes and supporting services, as well as IT infrastructure and hosting. And then if we talk about robotics and automation, as you can see, the robotic markets grew strongly in recent years due to the increased demand for automotive solutions to optimize output and save both labor and operational costs. And now Vietnam is among the top 10 markets for robotic solutions. Actually, in 2017, Vietnam became the 7th largest robot market in the world, with robot sales that arrived at more than 8,000 units. That there was a decline in 2020, but then in 2021 the segment bounced back with an increase of around 11% in the revenues. So the market is characterized by the dominance of foreign brand. Here in the slide you can see some like Kawasaki, TAC, Universal Robots, etc. And these leading brands sell mostly to large-scale foreign investment private corporations that have a sufficient budget and then can afford the investment in automation, of course. Then there are also advanced material production processes and biotechnology that are also amongst the industries that the Vietnam government is pushing, is prioritizing. But the first three that I mentioned, electronics, semiconductor, AI, and robotics, are the ones that are already very well developed, very strong. So if we look at the outlook of this sector, the high-tech in Vietnam, it looks extremely promising, in my opinion. And I also think, especially if you think about investing and targeting the central region, that you should look at this market not statically, but dynamically instead. So you will be able to see also the enormous potential, not only in the short period of time, but with investment that are within a long-term strategy for the growth. So this slide just summarizes and illustrates what are the key drivers that foster the growth of high-tech in Vietnam. There is, of course, the rise of Industry 4.0. There is, of course, a remarkable inflow of foreign direct investment. We have also a vibrant startup ecosystem, as I mentioned before, for the AI, but this is also extended to the other segment that were illustrated also in the other slide. Also, there is a strong support from the government for R&D and in new technologies and science that is related to this industry. And also there were a lot of improvements in terms of IPR protection, because Vietnam recently integrated in the global value chain, international trade, and therefore, of course, if you enter this kind of free trade agreements, you also have to comply with the legal framework that is related like to IPR protection. And therefore, due to that, Vietnam recently also became a signatory party of the most prominent international treaty that are related to IPR protection, such as, for example, the Convention Paris, of Madrid, and the trips, etc. So of course there are still some bottlenecks because I think that consumers in Vietnam are not well educated yet on IPR, and therefore you can find a lot of counterfeited products on the streets. But this is not very common, in my opinion. For high-tech products, is more common, like for food and beverage, for example, that can be replicated more easily. Then if we look instead of the opportunities for foreign investors, well, of course, you can decide to invest directly in the local high-tech for producing or using it as a logistic hub, leverage free trade agreements then to distribute in Southeast Asia or other countries. You can also decide to supply machinery inputs and components to the local industry, especially in the electronics and the semiconductors. And this can be achieved via direct sales of materials and parts mainly, or in case you want to sell machinery, the most common method is the indirect sale to distributor or local agents. Other opportunities come from partnering with local players for example, the development of products. And in this case, a notable recent example, I think it happened in July 2021, was finalized, was a deal between Qualcomm and a local player that is called BKAV for deploying AI solutions that were developed by Qualcomm and Foxconn into solutions for surveillance cameras that are produced by this manufacturer, that is BKAV. So there was this joint venture where the AI solution was provided by the foreign firm and then was implemented in the surveillance product of the local firm. And you can also find opportunities in training new engineers, for example. There are incentives for vocational training, and you can also decide to explore venture capital opportunities. So you can invest and fund innovative startups that are already present in Vietnam, or you can create even new ones. There are also strong incentives for the setup and of these startups. So apart from this, in case you decide to capture the first opportunity that is to invest directly in Vietnam, okay, I think that would make sense to follow the steps that are highlighted in this slide. That means first, conduct an overall feasibility study to benchmark Vietnam first with other location, or benchmark also different locations within Vietnam to understand what would be the most convenient solution for you, and then also understand what are the key requirements and bottlenecks when investing in Vietnam and other regions. So when you choose Vietnam, okay, you should know also that there are prioritized areas for investment and development. Those are set by the government, and there are like new material and technologies, information technology, biotechnology, and automation technology. So to give you like a brief about the prioritized technologies and products, there are 99 technologies that are prioritized and 107 high-tech products. Amongst them, you can see there is AI, Internet of Things, blockchain, big data, etc. on the technologies. While if we talk about products, you can find smart cards, embedded computers, plant simulators, self-propelled equipment, and so on. There are 107. So in case you need like to better understand what would be, if you want to have a list, it is better to contact us by email, and then I can send you the list directly, basically. So as I mentioned before, in case you would like to qualify as a high-tech, okay, can be high-tech application project or high-tech enterprise, or if you would like to qualify for installing your facilities into an high-tech park, okay, you need to meet certain requirements, okay. There are certain criteria. The criteria are about the revenue. So you need to have a certain amount of revenue that are coming from so-called prioritized high-tech solutions. That can be products or can be technologies. You have to invest a certain amount of efforts in R&D activities. You have to have a certain amount of qualified employees amongst the total labor force, okay, to be qualified, and also you have to meet certain requirements that concerns the environment protection. So also, like if you decide to invest in Vietnam, but if you decide also to invest in any other place, in a manufacturing facility, but also like in an office, you should also understand what are the key variables to consider, right? For example, this slide illustrates what are the key variables for choosing manufacturing facility location, like availability of material, proximity to the market, infrastructure, the government policies that are applicable in the specific province, for example, or in the specific industrial zone or industrial park or high-tech park, the labor availability, local regulations, taxation and incentives, and also the political stability. In Vietnam, is very stable, but in other locations, you might find that is not exactly like that. So that is also a matter of concern. In our firm, we actually developed a method, best practices to identify the most suitable location for your investment that is tiered into 6 steps, from initial screening, then there is a preliminary due diligence, then there is a detailed due diligence on shortlisted locations. Then on the shortlisted location, after the detailed due diligence, we develop a comparison model based on certain variables. In this slide, you see 9 of them. Then there is the final site selection, where from the shortlisted location, from the preliminary due diligence, we usually arrive like at 3 to 5 locations, and then you will have the final visit to better understand basically what is the infrastructure available, also the quality of the facilities, and then you can decide on the best location. Apart from this, you should also know what are the main investment vehicles that you can use to invest into Vietnam. The most common, in case you don't want to actually do business in Vietnam, but just do business development, promote your products, or yeah, basically you can use it like to expand your network of suppliers or your network of customers or distributors. Okay, is a representative office that is a non-separate legal entity, is inexpensive, and it takes just a few weeks basically to get it up and running. Otherwise, in case you want to actually do business, you can choose to establish a limited liability company or a joint stock company. The most commonly used adopted solution is the limited liability company, and I would advise strongly to adopt this solution. I would advise actually against the LLC, and I would advise to establish a joint stock company in case you either have partners and therefore you need to have a more structured governance, or in case you would like to get listed on the local stock market. Otherwise, it doesn't make much sense, because you are the compliance is almost the same as far as like accounting, tax, etc. But the governance is much more cumbersome. You have like a supervisory board that is required while it's not required for the limited liability company, for example. You have a lot of minutes that needs to be prepared. So it increased the bureaucracy within your company. Would advise against it. There is also mentioned here the public-private partnership framework that is actually used only if you invest like in infrastructure development project. That can be, for example, building new airports or new ports, roads, or undergrounds, or even if you are interested like in building like a power plant. Okay, in those cases you need to partner with the government, but I mean, if you invest in high tech, is not relevant. So I would say that the best solution would be a limited liability company, in case you aren't partnering with anyone else and you invest 100%, otherwise just a company. These slides summarize what are the main taxes that are applicable. I will just skip it. And also this slide highlight what are the main investment incentives. Those actually vary depending on the location, and I believe that also next speaker will talk about this, mostly related to the central region. Therefore, I will also skip this slide. I would just like to mention that there is a loan program to encourage the development of high tech that is applied to agriculture, organic agriculture, etc. So you could also find financial support from banks or from the state directly. Finally, to end my presentation, I would like to give you a brief, okay, about what are the key features of the center of Vietnam and Da Nang specifically. Therefore, like if we look at this map, you can see that there are three main provinces that are included in the central region, okay, where around 3.8 million people lives, and amongst them there are more than 2 million people in working age. That means there are the total workforce. There are more than 25 industrial parks. There are 3 ports. You can see 2 are very close to Da Nang. One is in the southern part of Quang Nam, and there are also 2 airports. So it is well connected. If we look instead at the economy, okay, focusing on Da Nang, in this case, you can see very clearly that Da Nang experienced a decrease in its GDP in 2020. This is, but is still before was one of the most of the fastest growing cities in Vietnam. Why there was this decrease? Because as you can see from the pie on the right side of the slide, the 67% of the GDP generated in Da Nang is attributable to services. Those services are like ICT services or hospitality related services. So for the hospitality specifically, when the border closed in 2020, the GDP plummeted. But as you can see, compared like to Ho Chi Minh City, for example, Ho Chi Minh City registered a very strong decrease on the GDP generated in 2021, while Da Nang at least had 0.2%, was stable, let's say. In the end, what I think you should consider is the dynamic, okay? And therefore, what I'm gonna talk about next will explain why the future of Da Nang, but also can be applied at the Central Economic Region in general, is extremely bright. So first of all, if we consider the foreign direct investment inflow, you can see from 2017 to 2019, okay, that the total investment amount skyrocketed and arrived at more than $500 million only in 2019. Then it decreased, of course, in 2020, 2021, but is very likely that the dynamic that we experienced from 2017, in this case from 2029, but this was a dynamic that started before. This trend will continue from 2022 onwards. In total, as you can see, the total investment that was allocated to Da Nang up until April 2022 arrived to $6 billion. There are almost 900 active projects, and the top investor are Japanese, Singaporean, and Americans. The top sectors that are recipient of foreign investment were ICT, high-tech manufacturing, and then, of course, other services that are tourism, logistics, etc. But as you can see, ICT, high-tech are the most prominent. Therefore, it constitutes one of the biggest cluster for high-tech manufacturing and ICT in the whole Vietnam. If we look also at the doing business, okay, and we compare Da Nang with the top locations for doing business in Vietnam, you can see that Da Nang, according to statistics, is positioned very well, is very close to Haiphong, and is more competitive than Hanoi, for example, where I'm based, or Ho Chi Minh City. Specifically, Da Nang offer more favorable conditions compared to other Tier 1 cities in terms of land access and tenure, in terms of labor policies and costs, in terms of timing for the procedures, and in terms also of entry costs. I already touched upon these. The major sectors apart from high-tech are supporting industries, food and beverage, textile, garment and footwear, and packaging. Hospitality already mentioned before, but those are the 6 main sectors in Da Nang and also in the central area of Vietnam. Another advantage of Vietnam, of Da Nang compared to other regions and other cities in Vietnam is the availability of skilled labor. That is the ratio is second only to Hanoi, so you will find a lot of skilled employees. There are a lot of universities, college, vocational schools, vocational training centers, and if you see in this slide, the Central Economic Region compared to the Southern Economic Region and the Northern Economic Region provides you with opportunities in terms of labor cost, because the labor cost is lower compared to the other regions. Therefore, you will find on average better skilled employees and at a lower cost. Another advantage, as I mentioned when I was comparing the competitiveness and the doing business within Vietnam, is the land availability, but also the land price. And as you can see, in the Central Economic Region, in Da Nang, Quang Nam, and Duan Thien and Hue, the average price for the land is extremely low compared to Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh City, Long An. So in Da Nang, the price for the land is more than half less than Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City, and is 50% less than iPhone, for example. Therefore, it is extremely competitive. Of course, this is counterbalanced because even though there is a good infrastructure available, is an infrastructure that is suitable for the current investment. Therefore, we would expect also when the new investments are coming into the region, that also there will be new investments from the government in further improving the local infrastructure, especially for the logistics. I'm talking about the roads, expressways, ports, and new terminals in the ports, airports, etc. These slides also summarize what are the key costs for electricity, water, wastewater treatment, and telecommunication. I will leave it for your private consultation. And this slide actually summarize what are the key pros, the key perks of the northern region, southern region, and central region. If we focus on the central region, as you saw in the slides before, the central region can offer a lot of advantages in terms of costs, okay, because there is a low land cost, low labor cost. You can find also skilled workers. There is actually a developed logistic infrastructure, especially if we benchmark it with the current size of the economy. Therefore, there is I mean, the streets, for example, the roads are not clogged in traffic, while, for example, in the south, where there is more business going right now, the logistic costs are higher because there is more traffic, and therefore also the time to ship the goods or to move the goods from point A to point B is increased. And therefore, I think that the central region, as I mentioned before, you should look at the central region not statically but dynamically. So if you want to exploit low cost, of course, but also if you have a long-term investment strategy where this low cost then can pay off because you lease the land, for example, you have workers, so you start paying them a lower salary. You can also have a return on investment for the land, and you can also exploit like a market, local market that is less competitive compared to the north and the south. There is also a need, for example, for certain materials, components that might be more convenient to receive from companies that are in the proximity, therefore located in the center of Vietnam, rather than moving them from the north or from the south of Vietnam. Therefore, you can also serve the companies that are already there. So, I mean, of course, there are pros and cons, but I feel that in the next years, if you think about 5, if you think about 10 years in the future, if you invest in the central region compared to the northern and southern region that are already explored, you are not the first mover because there are already several investments. As you saw, there are almost 900 foreign investments already there in Da Nang, in the central region. But you can still leverage the opportunities in terms of land availability, cost, and also availability of skilled labor and the cost of labor to kickstart your business there. The end. So with this, my presentation actually. So okay,
Thank you,
I
Filippo.
stop sharing my screen now.
Yeah, you share.
And I leave the floor to Miss Huyền.
Beautiful. Then, yeah, looking forward. Huyền, stage is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone from, of course, from Vietnam. My name is Huyền, and you can call me Heidi. Actually, it is very difficult to get invited to speak in, by Filippo and his team, Dezan Shira team, because I know that for the series of key investment destination in Vietnam, and today Đà Nẵng is the focus. So I think Long Hậu Industrial Park and me being selected because of two reasons. One is that today we can share to you, the audience, first, the common ground of being a very new investor to this region, like we did 3 years ago. And the second thing is that we can offer the new investor, especially for small and medium size and family manufacturers in manufacturing industry, having a space and other one-stop service, because we are one of the leading and experienced industrial developer in Vietnam. So first, I like to ask our audience, like, do you like beach? So that's also our poll. So maybe you can, type on the chat box and help me to know that do you like beach, because it's very relevant to our theme today. I chose that with the theme like Đà Nẵng, high tech on the beach. And the reason why, because like 3 years ago, we are not in, our headquarters is not in Đà Nẵng yet, but after 15 years, promoting, in investment, manufacturing investment, working with over 200 tenants, existing tenants and clients in our industrial park in the south of Vietnam. As you can see who we are, actually we are under a parent company called IPC, and we are our activity is more in the south of Vietnam, where you can see we have a first export processing zone. We have a HIapplP industrial park, and then Long Hậu Industrial Park is one of the youngest industrial park at the IPC, which is belong to Ho Chi Minh City People Committee. And why I should tell about that, because after 15 years of promoting investment, we can see that the inquiries, the growth of investment in manufacturing side is upgraded. So normally people can, investor, yes, here our technical team can help us with the poll. Maybe I should start the poll first. Can you see the poll now? Yes. Do you like the?
Yeah.
Of course. Julia, maybe you can help me for the poll.
Yes, sure.
The second poll.
Yeah. So first poll, do you like the beach? Maybe we keep the first poll open for like a few seconds now. So we have,
yes.
Okay, most people really like it. So not awfully many mountain persons here. Normally that would be the question, beach or mountain.
Can I answer the question too? Because
yeah, no, you are with the organizing team. That wouldn't be fair. But you can tell us if you like the beach or the mountains.
Of course, that's the reason why, like I'm presenting for the company, for Long Hậu Industrial Park to invest in Đà Nẵng.
Okay. Yeah, it seems so far we have a very, very, very high preference for the beach.
Really? Okay,
should I
thank
keep
you.
it open? Yeah, now it's like 95%. Do you want us to open the second poll, or
Yes,
do you want to
the
continue?
second poll, please.
The second question,
poll.
please.
Are you from SME or family enterprises or manufacturers? Or maybe do you know anyone in your network from SME or family manufacturers?
Audience, if you can select yes
so
or
the
no.
answer yes or no.
Would you count your firm to be a small medium enterprise or even family run or manufacturer? Yes or no? It would be very nice for our guest speaker to have this answer. So we keep it open for a few more seconds.
Sure.
Aha.
Yes, I'm curious because I cannot see the result. I'm curious.
I can read it out for you. Like we have 43% yes and 57% no.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much for answering then. Is that enough for you, or should we go to poll number 3?
Okay. Later, I like to keep going on with our presentation.
Perfect. Then thank you to our technical team. The third question will be later then.
Okay, so I'd like to share with you about our agenda. So my presentation will be in the 4 steps. First, is I'm asking you, like, are you a SME or family-based companies or manufacturer? So we can walk through some of our case study, because today I think our presentation of Long Hậu Industrial Park, it should focus on our real case study from our tenant, our investor, who we working with them and to make them, successful setting up their factory here in Vietnam. So first, are you in right place? I think yes, 43% of audience answering that they're from SME or family businesses. And the second thing, I like you to reflect a little bit. So investing in high-tech industrial park, is it a winning game? Number 3, so we can share more about the solution, how to set up the factory in high-tech industrial park, in high-tech industry. And number 4, step number 4 is what we're gonna do next. So first, I like again to ask you one more question. So can you see on my screen, there are 6 categories representing 6 high-tech industry. Let me know, like we can do like number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or maybe the poll technical team, can you help me launch the poll number 3? So I'm asking the audience, are you in, let's say, number 1, ICT computer software? Number 2, you're in a new energy or nanotechnology on new materials. Number 3, automation or precision mechanics. Number 4, environment. Sorry. Julia, can you help me to launch the poll now? Number 3, environmental industry. Yes, please. Because here it's easy to see the picture.
Yeah, it should already be here. Like I would have already opened. Are your company in one of these 4 categories?
Yes.
So ICT, computer software, hardware, new energies, nanotech, and new materials automation, precision mechanics, biotech applied for agriculture, aquaculture, or healthcare, or maybe none of them. This is the last question here. This is the last time you need to do something. So
Yes.
If you would reply that question, that would be great. And then we can continue in a bit. But thank you for replying. Just click on that. Like, it's not a presentation, that poll you can click like in every other poll online.
So do we have an option number 7? None of them.
Okay, so I shall read out the results. So
Yes,
we
please.
have 21% in ICT, 0 in new energies and new materials, 7% in automation and precision, biotech applied for agriculture, aquaculture, and healthcare is 7%, and none of them is 64%. Thank you for answering the poll, and thank you, technical team. Now we are free of any further work for anyone. Only Huyền, continue, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia. So for those who already know that you fall into which categories, congratulations, because you know, if you're planning to set up the factory here in Đà Nẵng, in any high-tech park in Vietnam, you are eligible to enjoy the tax incentive. So I noticed that there's 64% that not knowing that they are which category they are in. So maybe we need to do more research, and that's the reason why I'm here today, to help you understanding more about, you know, the high-tech park and how to get eligible to get into the park. Just share with me. So normally when a new investor come to us, we always ask them how much you're planning for the new project. I mean, in terms of capital, investment capital value. So there's 2 options. One is consider a large project, which means larger 15 million USD per hectare. We are talking about the land unit. And the second one is small and medium size. Just now I see 46%, 43%, right? Which means under 15 million USD. And this is one of our recent clients. So they come to us and they share that they are contract manufacturer for military security. And the purpose of the new project in Vietnam is that producing plastics parts or component for all the devices. You can see on my screen all of the plastic parts. So the question is that, okay, am I eligible for being a high-tech manufacturer? So we also don't know. We need to do some research. And the second, you know, they come with many concerns in their mind. Actually, they are a very small team of 3. I mean, for the first, for the project, and they are not yet in Vietnam. And they come with many questions. So how much is the total investment should I put in to the new project? How about the manpower there? Is it, you know, skilled labor to start the business? Or how about the access to current supply chain or to current clients market? Or how about the competitiveness? So that's all their concern. And one thing that very important, like you, they don't know that until they meet us, they don't know that if they are, whether they are eligible for high-tech or enterprises or not to enjoy the tax incentive, which is late. Just now, Filippo in his presentation already covered that there's a huge benefit to invest in high-tech park. So I come with the second question to discuss with our client? Is it a winning game to invest in this high-tech park? So just now we already know the benefit comparison between a high-tech park and industrial and normal park. So I just mentioned here is like you know, the CIT for the normal one is 20% here in Vietnam, and if the new investment you just enjoy up to six years. But for you know, investment in high-tech park, the CIT just a half, 10%, and you can enjoy 15 years if you're small and medium size, I mean, project, and up to 30 years if it's large project. And there are many, you know, benefits. And another benefit that I like to highlight, because here the government, Vietnam government, after 30 years of, you know, promoting investment into manufacturing, so they already realized that, yeah, they consider high-tech should be a, you know, must-do step, and that's why they designed 3 high-tech parks in Hanoi, in Ho Chi Minh City, and Da Nang. And lucky we are in Da Nang now. So again, I just explained the length, the period that new investor can enjoy. So let's talk about the 2 case study who were new investor investing in Da Nang high-tech park. The one is considered large project, and the second one is small project. This one, 30 million project of New War Foundry, Vietnam. So they're from Japan, and you can see the purpose of investing in Vietnam. They're totally new in Vietnam at that time. They're supplying to customer in Da Nang, Bình Dương, and then exporting to Thailand and Indonesia. And their capital value is 30 millions. They producing engine casting for hydraulic parts and high precision mechanical parts used for industrial machinery and agricultural machinery, which is fall into the high-tech category. So they choose to buy land is over 3 hectares, and look at them. You can see the timeline that they spend for this project is 4 years, from 2012 to 2016, and they work directly with high-tech park authority, and it's take them 4 years. And to be honest, they have a big team. And I like to share another case study that Inaba is one of our current tenant now in Da Nang. So they came to us and they asked, like, okay, we have just a small team. That time they were not presenting that in Vietnam yet, and they want to just keep their total investment value as low as possible. And they choose the ready-built factory, you know, and they lease up 5,000 square meters to start their production line, producing rubber parts used for electronic and precision engineering. So this one consider is, just now we mentioned, like the first category in ICT, software or hardware. So this one is considered as one of the supporting industry for electronics manufacturing. So they come to us again with many concerns. Yeah, as you can see, where to set up manufacturing, is the production qualified to be high-tech, or how to get IRC or ERC, or again, is there any rental option to keep their initial investment low at the beginning time. So what we share with you, we like to share with you here is that Inaba project just took them less than 1 year to run manufacturing, from March 2019 to February 2020. So they start to discuss with us about the eligibility of their manufacturing, their production, their technology, and then we can share more about the procedure later. So that's just now I share about 2 case study that we work, one for the large project and second one is very small and medium size one. So the question is that it depends on you and your company. If you already have a strong team and you committed with a big, with a large investment value, you can consider to work directly with the high-tech part. But if you're new to the market or you want to keep very low initial investment value at the beginning time and test the market for some years, you should consider a ready-built factory option. And how to do it? So we can start with a solution to set up factory in high-tech industry. So just now, Filippo presentation already offer you. We can see that Đà Nẵng offer 3 things. First is completed infrastructure. And the second thing is a designated high-tech park, which is very, help you to save a lot of time because it's offering like a one-stop state-owned agency, like authority, to proceed all the paperwork document, and then a track record partner, your local partner. So again, I like to share with you some visual image of a location, strategic location of Đà Nẵng here is accessible to Asia via sea or airways. It's connecting to East Asia, Indian Ocean via the East-West economics corridors, which is just now you remember that Niwa, one of the investors, chose because their main market is Thailand, Indonesia. And then also, okay, I think I don't need to share, focus more on this strategic location because Filippo already shared with that. And yes, Đà Nẵng is one of the top 10 foreign most worth living places. To be honest, if you're visiting the city, you can feel the green, the clean, safe, and friendly city. And the traffic jam is not heavy at all compared to Ho Chi Minh City or Hanoi, and very affordable living costs. I think people from central region is very friendly. So Đà Nẵng also is one of the country's top transport hub. As you can see, the city offer international airport, the seaport, and railway station, very highly connected infrastructure. And just now, I think I just need to share more about Đà Nẵng workforce because it's young, dynamic, and well-trained. And if you do a comparison in terms of the cost, is cheaper, like 20 to 30% cheaper for the skilled labor. And they are very loyal and patient. Maybe because of the region, the people there tend to be work harder. So again, there are 6 prioritized investment sector in Đà Nẵng High Tech Park, which is I just asked you to answer. And here we are talking about Đà Nẵng High Tech Park, and you can see on the screen this location. If you from the international airport, it just takes you around 40 minutes to reach to the high tech park. The traffic again very relaxing. And here is a completed infrastructure. The high tech park offer all kind of facilities They are R&D zone, business incubator, and production area, logistic hub, high-tech services, and most important things for those small and medium-sized in supporting industry. They offer also the space, and you can see our Long Hậu project there. So there's some of the project that I think Filippo already covered too. So look at the high-tech production. The fill rate is around 60%. So there's a room to the space to invest your new factory here, because as I remember, Saigon High-Tech Park is also very very fully occupied and very difficult to get the space or slot there. And also Hoa Lạc in Hanoi, they also not offering the small ready-built factory option for small and medium-sized manufacturers. And yes, again, some of the technical infrastructure is ready to serve investor. There's a power supplier, water supply, wastewater treatment, IT telecommunication, and a ready-built factory and office for lease. So again, I like to share with you, it depends on your plan, your investment. If it's large one, you should directly work with high-tech park authorities. And if it's just small and medium size, which is under 15 millions, and for those we working now, it's just like 1 or 2 millions to start their first production. So I think Long Hậu Industrial Park, Long Hậu Corporation is one of the local track record partner that you should talk with us. And then we offer factory for lease, of course, and other services. Let's say for the legal, for the operation. Later I can cover for more details. So here we offer very flexible rental size. It's a 500 square meter to 3,000 square meter, and with the office inside and comprehensive service support. Take a look on our ready-built factory here. And yes, this coming, Q4, we launched the 10,000 square meter J4 and J403A and J403B, which is around 1,500 to 3,000. So we hope that we can help you in the new investment. So yes, Đà Nẵng Long Hậu project is the only ready-built factory for SME in high-tech or supporting high-tech industry. So step 4, what's next? What we are going to do next? First, I think the very important thing is that it can account for 60 to 70% that you should check the eligibility of your investment, whether it's considered high-tech or supporting high-tech industry. And then you can talk to us. If you're already in, considering Vietnam is one of, the selected destination for your new project, you already talked to the Dezan Shira team. Then if you considering like in the north, in the south, or in the central Đà Nẵng, so we can help you. The second thing, legal documents to refer. There's 3 decision and decree that cover, just now we mentioned 100 technology or products that can be to check whether you are in qualified criteria to your new investment. And very important one for small and medium size, they filed decree number 111 on the development of supporting industries. There are many relevant like technology or product that consider into the high-tech supporting industry. And then this is procedure to set up a high-tech manufacturing here. So there's 3 stages: investment registration, factory setup, and operation. So for those who already set up factory here in Vietnam or in other place, yes. So also investment registration, I just like to highlight some of challenging here in high-tech park is that first, there's a site visit and confirmation of the project suitability, yes, eligibility, how your project qualified, the criteria, and then there's a preparation and submission. One of the key document is that technology evaluation. It's in cover how about your patent, your applied industry, so what you produce, and then is it into the high-tech or supporting profile. And then the here there's some note. There are 2 things to increase the change. Right, of success. One is that should prepare a well checklist, and you should bring your key people to the meeting. And if you already get a potential yes answer from the board of authority that okay, your investment, your new investment is possible into our park, in the high-tech park, so you can proceed to the next step, is that the dossier of investment registration, IRC or ERC, which normally take around 10 to 14 weeks in overall step. And then after that, you can do the factory setup with some of the license application, fire safety permit, environmental assessment, and some fit out, factory construction, equipment installation. Normally for the ready build factory stay in our park, so investor only need 3 months, 3 to 6 months to set up to complete their factory equipment installation and fit out. And then to start with the operation, and we can help with the workforce recruitment and other like production trade. Yes. So let me share more about with the experience working with over 200 existing tenant or investor here in Long An, in Ho Chi Minh City. We can see that there's a lot of opportunities for FDI as well as a local manufacturer to upgrade their manufacturing site, their factory, up to advanced technology, to first enjoy the tech incentive, but second, to upgrade them into the global value chain, because here in Vietnam, it's a gap between those a big brand like finished product, the FDI, but also the local one. They cannot, maybe they just do a very simple manufacturing. So there's a gap. That's we are Long Hậu Industrial Park, and me also trying to promoting high-tech or supporting high-tech manufacturing more to small and medium size and family manufacturer here. So first, sorry, I think it's just the last slide. If you need more information, more detailed information about our products, about our tenants, about our network of over 200 business community here in Long Hậu Corporation, you can visit our website longhậu.com.vn, and we have a virtual 360 where we put some of our factories there for you to see before you fly to Vietnam or fly to Đà Nẵng to see the factory in real. So thank you.
Thank
Back
you,
to
Heidi.
you, Julia.
Yeah, I just had to like, your presentation gives me just so many opportunities to say something about Dezan Shira, which is like site visits, which our business intelligence team will be happy to take the left hand, and Long Hậu takes the right hand of your delegation to show them around. And once you made your decision, because what we can't do is building factories, and that's why I personally also really I'm very happy that you agreed to become a speaker today, that we can work together, because in the end, then Dezan Shira can help you with all the other steps around bringing your experts in, setting up the firm here, getting the work permits, for example, which is also a very important and fun topic to talk about, especially for foreign experts. And yeah, it's always a perfect synergy and partnership. And I just use some moments to see international flight opportunities. Like moving to Da Nang is a secret dream of some foreign experts who are stationed in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh. And you can even reach bigger hubs like Seoul or Tokyo, Taipei, Hong Kong, Bangkok directly from Da Nang, and also Singapore. So it's not impossible to make the dream come true, working at the beach, managing by the beach, high tech by the beach. It's possible. And yeah, may I, it's very late, but may I give you 2 questions that I received that you might want to answer real quick before we all might go home? None of us to the beach apparently yet, but yeah, maybe this is the stars for us one day. So I would have one question for Filippo, ideally. There is a question which asks about the intellectual property protection, and that it is a very big concern. And do you have a brief insight about how much of a concern compared to other countries in the region, for example, is that in Vietnam, the typical IP protection?
Yeah, so to answer your question, okay, there are pros and cons in the local framework for IPR protection. The pros are that the legal framework really developed in the last few years, because as I mentioned before, by joining free trade agreements with other economies, there are some requirements also in terms of IPR protection. So Vietnam is member, signatory party of international treaties. Therefore, it's possible to then extend the IPR protection within the application for the international protection also to Vietnam. What is worth noting, though, is that first of all, you need to understand that if you want to protect your IPR in Vietnam and go through like international application in your country of origin, you can do it, okay? But you still need to undergo also the ordinary procedure in Vietnam. So, for example, let's talk about patents, okay, in this case, or let's talk about trademarks that are the most relevant IPR, okay? So you can protect them also in Vietnam with international procedure. But then, like, if it's a patent, you need to undergo the full ordinary procedure in Vietnam. That means that first you file the international application, okay? Then within a certain period of time from when you apply for the international protection for the patent is 31 months since that date, you have the right to apply for that protection also in Vietnam. In Vietnam, the procedure for patents and also for trademarks is divided into 3 steps. Once you submit the application, there is first a formal exam, okay, of your application, if there are all the documents necessary, if you paid the cost for the procedure, for example, if you have the right to register for the IPR in Vietnam, and then there is a substantial examination, okay, and the duration vary. So talking about patents, there is the formal examination that is the same between patents and trademarks, is 1 month, okay. After that, there is an incubation period for the application for a patent, okay, in Vietnam, both through international application and ordinary application in Vietnam, okay. So this period for patents is 19 months. For trademarks is 2 months. So why there is this incubation period? This incubation period is the period in between with other individuals or corporate entities can claim priority over that invention, for example, or over that trademark. So in case someone claims priority, we'll have to prove that they filed an application for that patent, for example, or trademark before, okay. And in case there is no claim, okay, after respectively 19 months or 2 months, there is the substantial examination starts, okay. The substantial examination lasts 12 months, between 12 and 18 months, okay. Okay, I got muted. I was saying that they will understand if your application is for an invention, for a utility model, or for something else, okay, or for integrated circuits. It depends, okay. And then if at the end of the examination, in case is successful, they will just register your rights in the local register, okay, and they will notify you and will give you the certificate. Otherwise, they will notify you otherwise, and you will have time to oppose their decision and provide additional documents, okay. This happens for both international applications and local applications, okay. So you have to go through it anyway. One thing is important to mention is that the protection, even if in theory your IPR are protected at the end of the procedure, that means when you have the certificate and your IPR is registered, okay, in practice you are protected since the day that of the end of the incubation period. So when just before the start of the substantial examination. Why? Because there wasn't any claim. So even if your application is rejected, okay, and you don't oppose that decision, okay, you still can claim priority in the future. If someone else tries to register your IPR in Vietnam or in other places, okay, you still have the notification that you actually submit the demand, that to undergo the substantial examination, and you still have the priority. So a third party go through the formal examination is okay, there is the incubation period, then you claim the priority and they cannot register anymore, okay. So it's also useful on that side. One thing that is not very good of Vietnam legal framework is even though there is the protection by the law, the enforcement is a different thing. So there are a lot of means to protect your IPR in Vietnam, okay, in case of violations, like in case of counterfeited products, for example, okay, or unfair competition cases in point. So in this case, there are different remedies. There are remedies that you can adopt by yourself, like, for example, sending official letters asking them to stop, saying, look, we have this patent register, for example. It never works. Otherwise, there are civil remedies, administrative remedies, and criminal remedies, okay? Criminal remedies triggers only in case like the violation is substantial, so the damage is substantial, but should be like around $10,000 to $15,000 damage to be like a criminal violation, so not much, and must be an organized violation. So it means that the natural person or the individual that that commit the violation do it in an organized manner. In that case, there are a lot of sanctions, okay, monetary sanctions, but not only the authority, in this case are the courts. They can also suspend the business operations of the entities that are committing the violations. Otherwise, there are, for lower amounts, there are civil remedies that are carried by the courts, or there are administrative remedies, and you have to go to the police department for those. In that case, they can confiscate the goods, for example. They can also sell the goods at a lower price, so they dismiss the goods, or they can also take the goods and bring them out of Vietnam, okay? Or they can even destroy the goods. So those are the methods available. In practice, though, if as I mentioned, if you go like in the streets, if you walk around, or even if you go to the supermarket, you can find the counterfeited products, because in the end, there is the concept of intellectual property rights and their protection is not widespread across the population. Okay, they don't know about that. So you will find a lot of people that go on the street and buy the counterfeited products. Okay, but as I mentioned, this is more of an issue like for food and beverage, not for high-tech products. Why? Simply because here in Vietnam they don't have the expertise to produce them, to replicate the technology. So I feel, to be honest, that if we refer strictly to the high-tech IPR, the legal framework is good enough, and the measures at your disposal to then protect your rights are also efficient enough. Just you have to go through lawyers or go to the police at least, and never like waste time, just act immediately, and don't try even to send letters by yourself, because they simply doesn't work, because the violators usually don't really care about it.
Well, that was well said, Filippo. They don't care really about it. Hopefully soon, when the law enforcement gets a bit better. Thank you. Then I have the very last question. This one is for Huyền. I think you already answered that in your presentation with your case studies. Like, how long is it normally taking a company in manufacturing to set up in a high-tech park? And like in some conversations that I had with you, learning also about the decision-making process compared to different nationalities, would you say the answer is it depends?
Okay, thank you, Julia, for the question and the attendees. Normally, ideal time, I mean, is 6 to 12 weeks to have, you know, the ERC and IRC and ERC issue. Securing time is 10 to 14 weeks to get those certificates. And just now, can you see our case study, the INABA investor? They have less than 1 year, 11 months to start from the first step of, you know, screening the location in Đà Nẵng. And then early 2020, they started their first production, you know, time there. So 11 months for the completed, you know, procedure. But for this small and medium size one, for those with big, you know, large project, it took 4 years.
Yeah, if I can further substantiate on this matter, it really depends on what are your business lines in Vietnam, your business model, because it matters a lot. Like if you generate wastes and waste waters, then you will need to undergo environmental impact assessment. Okay, it takes some time and takes also some money. Also, in case you don't rent already built factory and you want to build a factory from scratch, it takes some time, depending also on the state of the land plot, if you need to level it or not, for example, or if the industrial zone have the area available, but they have yet to obtain the permit to construct it, might take some time. There is also the time to collect the necessary supporting documents for the application, and also if there are any sub-licenses, or if you want to qualify for specific incentives, it will take a little bit more time for the procedure. Normally, for obtaining the certificates, she's right, doesn't take too much time, but the time can go up depending on the complexity of your business model and your operations.
And one thing that I like to highlight, because for, you know, for high tech or supporting high tech project, investment project, the step that taking a lot of time, which is around 4 weeks, is that when you submit the technology document report about your, you know, production process, and then like what we call is, we have a central authority agency. They play as a one-stop service. And then when you submit the technology report, so they allocate and they gather the committee of different, you know, agency, which is like a department of technology, department of construction, you know, or maybe department of science and technology, department of environmental resource. Yeah, so different agency, authority agency to look into your investment proposal, and it takes time a bit because can gather those, you know, agency, but it's more convenient for those like already apply their project in designated high-tech park. Yeah, for those not in high-tech park, but they considering to apply their high-tech enterprises, yes, the answer is that they can, but it's taking a lot more time.
Just out of interest and curiosity to wrap it up, but what was your fastest from the first contact to set up, and what was your slowest, like in months or weeks? Like how fast was the fastest, and how slow was the slowest?
Yes, thank you. You know what, like if we in Long An, we're in a normal industrial park, as you know, close to Ho Chi Minh City, it's just 3 months to get a small and medium size, which is around 500 square meter, 1,000 or 2,000 square meter space to start their production. But for high-tech one, yes, the shortest one is 11 months. Yeah, to start their completed, you know, start manufacturing. Thank you.
Thank you. Filippo, Huyền, anything else you would like to give the remaining audience on the way? Anything you would like to say, or would you want to wrap it up?
Yeah, for me, like the message that I would like to pass, the key takeaway is that, of course, right now, like supporting industry and in general, the recipients of the foreign investment has been more the north and the southern region. Okay, that's a given. But that's the main reason why it's convenient to invest in the center. Cost of labor, cost of land, availability of labor. Also, not much competition in retaining your labor, because right now, for example, in the south, we are experiencing like a lot of struggles sometimes in retaining the key people. You have to pay them above the market level, even 30%. So this considering, depending also on how is your business model, like if your logistic costs are the most prominent, or if the cost of labor is the most prominent, or other things, you might decide to switch your attention from the more common regions that are the north and the south to the center, because in like 5-10 years will be like the north and the south, and if you are a first mover, you will have the best position with the best advantages, and you can still do things because it's well connected. So this is the key takeaway. And also, if you invest in Da Nang, you give me an opportunity to come there to Da Nang and visit you. It's not so bad.
Sounds like we all need a meeting and a side check there. Yeah, great. Huyền, also a key takeaway or a little like your last words today to the audience. Anything you would like to say about hiking at the beach?
So audience and then potential investor, please come to Da Nang and invest together with us, because we also, you know, were new to this area 3 years ago, and we found that is a potential, is a, you know, getting us a lot of successful deal, and we hope that we can help you to set up you know, small and medium size factory in Da Nang.
Cool.
Thank you.
Then thank you so much for your time, Huyền, for being our guest speaker and partner today. Thank you, Filippo, for taking your time to be the speaker today. Thank you to the audience. And then we hope to see you next time. We will announce part 3, which is, of course, then playing in the South very soon. So just check on our website or on our social media channels. And yeah, we hope to get in touch. You will receive an email in the next few days with the recording. If you can't wait to receive the slides, just directly contact the speakers. I put the email addresses in the chat. And yeah, hope to see you next time for one of our webinars, or maybe in person in Hanoi, Da Nang, or Ho Chi Minh City, or for Huyền in Long An. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.